Hi, I'm Katie and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. I'm going to show you the items that I made for my vendor events, and that's what this whole video is about. And it's about 3 or 4 days of working with my laser and paint and glue and having fun, and I hope you enjoy. I'm also going to show you some of the items that I have created that I will sell. To give you some ideas on what to make with the laser if you're an artist. I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, please click that like button, hit subscribe, and if you'd like to see more behind the scenes, make sure to check out my Patreon, where you can get a coloring sheet every week, and as well as a couple of behind the scenes stuff, see my sketchbook, see how I create the ideas that I come up with, and I would love to have you join. See you soon. Okay, I have created my sign. I bought the template from a seller on Etsy. I will link it below, but I did customize it. Like, I have all of my pieces with my name and everything on it. The reason there is a line around the words, even though they're going to go on those boards, is so that when I cut them out, I can actually put a piece of tape over them and get them out of my machine and hopefully get them on the sign lined up. Yeah, so that's my little tip. If you're cutting out letters and you want to line them up, put a cut line around them so that you can just put a piece of tape across the top. So that's what I did with my logo. I got my board in here. This is all going to be painted, so this is just 1/4 inch plywood, that the really inexpensive plywood from Lowe's, but it does work great. I made this jig for my pencils, and it is 1/4 inch, so it's not that it's cheap, it's just it's paint quality. I wouldn't use it unless I was going to paint it. So yeah, it's in my machine, and I'm about to start cutting. I've set it up, each one of these, as a separate, like, canvas, basically. So each group is one cut, and so I just need to make sure that everything is cut. That's all uncut. This is cut. Everything is cut except for, now I've got to figure out what I scored. So let's see. Yeah, all of this has got to be cut. So there we go. So let me make all that cut. Alright, the only thing that's supposed to be scored, and there we go again. So make sure that you check it. Like, I don't need this. This is just the instructions for the file over here. I left it just so I can see it. I'm going to have to actually ungroup this and realized that everything on here is not, like, this is supposed to be scored, but all of these little pieces here are supposed to be cut. So let me get that formatted and then I'll come back to set. Everything that's supposed to be cut is up here in the cut. Everything that's going to be scored is in the score. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to group this back together. That way I have it, and right now I'm only going to cut what is in here. So now I'm going to measure my file or measure my piece. So I'm just going to put this down. I'm going to, well, sorry, I have to have it up to mark the processing area. So I'm just going to click mark processing area. It's going to be a rectangle. I'm going to start marking. So this is where it can cut. It's not going to hit my down here and make sure I get it as close as I can, and then bring it back up, close it down, end marking, done. And then now I'm going to, it's going to measure my piece, doing the auto measure so that it tells the laser exactly what to do. I'm going to frame it so that I can see exactly where it's going to cut. I really love this feature. That way I know exactly it's going to cut correct. This is all cut. Now I'm going to hit process. It's only going to process what's in that frame. And yeah, it's going to, whoa. It says it's going to take me 1 hour and 12 minutes to cut this out. But remember, this is 1/4 inch plywood. And I did find out I don't need 3 passes. I only need 2. So let me make sure. Yep, it's on 2. And I can up the speed to 5. Because I've cut this before, I think I can up it to 10 and it cut through fine. So that speeds it up just a little bit. So let's reprocess it again. This is a 10-watt laser. It is not fast. Okay, 22. Nope, I need to drop it down to 5 because I know that's not going to cut. I mean, it's one thing. It is definitely a learning with this machine of what each piece is going to do. All right, 43 minutes. I know that'll cut through. So, yeah. So now I'm just going to hit start. And it's checking the process, and it tells me right when it's ready. I already have air assist on auto back here. I have my venting out my window, and I'm just gonna hit go. And it's gonna start. I'll let you see it when we get done. Okay, I am testing the paint markers. These were a free gift with my purchase from Xtool. And the lighting's a little bit off in here, but yeah, that, I wanted to check the coverage of theirs. These are a set of Master's Touch from Hobby Lobby, and that I absolutely love the coverage of them. And so I was testing them in order, and then I left a piece of the wood so I knew which color of wood I was testing it on. And then these are a couple of paint pens that I got off of Amazon. So these are bullet tip and extra fine tip. But yeah, all right, I know it's probably gonna be loud, the machine is going, but yeah, so this is what I've done. I've got home goods cut out twice. Stationery, I'm gonna have to recut the S because this one is just not coming out. So I did slow my machine down for the next process. I've cut these, so this is gonna say home goods on the front and the back, but I'm gonna go ahead and paint these. I did some test strips like I showed before, and so I'm gonna figure out which ones I'm gonna use, which black I'm going to use for the words, because the words are going to be black. The background, I think I'm just going to do white, but yeah, I haven't decided yet. I got to clean them up. It is messy. Almost done. I had to make the S and the Y over again for one of the stationery signs. So, but yeah, it's almost finished cutting out my logo. I'm probably gonna have to fish out some of those little bitty circles from the bottom, but that's all right. But yeah, so it's almost done. This one's taken 1 hour and 19 minutes to process, but you know what? It's a whole lot quicker than anything else. I'm very happy with this machine. Alright, I've got everything painted and are cut and painted. I'm now cutting a display. But because I don't want the paint to look all messy, I'm taking a black paint marker and going over the edges. I know most people aren't going to notice this, but I will. and I want it to look finished. So yeah, it's taken me right at 3 hours to get it completely cut out and painted, and yeah, but I'm excited. I got this, make sure it's gonna stick in there, and I've got some bungee balls, things that they have a little ball on the end and bungee cord in that I used for tarps, and I'm gonna hook it to my tent with that. So yeah, just wanted to come in. All right, I have got everything cut out and painted and laid out. It will be on both sides, so it's getting late. Well, it's getting late for Wednesday. I gotta get ready for church, cook dinner. But I will probably get back in here tomorrow. So this is a day's work. It's got a pretty good bit done. I have another thing over there on the machine. I got about another 20 minutes on it. And yeah, so this is ready to glue. Alright, I'm bringing you over here to the machine, which is cutting out, engraving now, and cutting out a display for me. I needed another way of displaying my bookmarks, and so yeah, I cut this file off of Etsy. I'll link it below, and yeah, so that's what it's doing. I've formatted it. I've cut almost all of it out. But yeah, I probably won't get it all done before I need to get out of here, because this has 25 minutes left, and normally I'm out of the office by now on Wednesday, but yeah. I don't have a media computer tonight, so I figured, why not? Let's work a little later and get this done. At least get this part done. I'm excited about having a branded display stand, because I do have a market coming up this weekend. Alright, this is the last file, last cut I'm going to do for the day. As soon as this is done, I will be cutting the blazer off and cutting them to get ready to go to church. But yeah, it's been a productive day, I will say. Tomorrow I'm going to finish up the stand and work on products for this weekend's events. So, yeah, I'll bring you along with me. Alright, I'm back in the studio, still working on stuff today. And yeah, so this is, I got this cut and all of these cut for the display. I got to finish cutting everything for this display. This is going to be my, it'll either hold my note cards or my bookmarks. So yeah, and then the way I cut out all the letters, I actually have all these little mini signs that I can do something with if I want to and make myself another sign. I really like that I have this one, and I'm thinking about cutting a background for it and then just popping in the little pieces from there to refill the sign back up. But yeah, really, I have 2 of them, so yeah, I'm thinking about doing that. But yeah, so I've got everything painted for this sign. I've got to glue all of the letters. I have to glue this together, and I'm actually going to paint the bracket black. So yeah, I didn't like the white on the bracket. I'd rather have something that stood out, so I'm gonna paint the bracket black like I did the letters. I just have to get some actual black paint instead of markers. But I will say, I do love how using paint markers for these, it worked so much quicker. I have my machine ready. I have re-taped up my window because I was getting a little bit of scent smell in here, and my family were freaking out. So I'm gonna open the window again. I have a cross window. This studio's a disaster over here. This is my storage section. But I'm gonna open that window again today to see if I can get some cross ventilation, make sure I have enough fans going, things like that. But yeah, so I'm about to get started. Sorry, I'm trying to... Well... Alright, so here we go. This is what's left to cut is over here. I've already cut all of this. What I've done is I just dragged it off. I was using these smaller pieces to cut all of the smaller pieces. This one I can cut out with this just so I save space on that board. But yeah, so I've got this piece, basically the side pieces and the center, I guess riser, like separator thing. But yeah, so I've got those to cut, and that's what I'm about to get to do now. So involved starting gluing these that I totally forgot to film. I'm using Gorilla Glue, put it on a little plate, and a toothpick. It's pretty much the only way to get it on these little letters, but it also keeps me from wasting and having any ooze coming out. Yeah, just glue them down. I've already got this one done. It's about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then I'll flip them over and do the back side. Alright, I'm going to show you how I'm doing this one. I'm going to try to get a better view of how I'm doing it. I'm using the cutout that the machine created, cutting the letters out, and I'm just going to help, that's going to help me line it up. And keep it straight. Trying to make sure I'm even on both sides. I need to lower this down just a hair. Straighten that up. Time consuming, but I enjoy it. I enjoy making things. So now that I've got my K in, I'm going to put in my name. And then I'm just going to start putting it in. Leaving it here. I'm going to put you on time lapse. Also created this piece that can hold my greeting cards or my bookmarks, or any other like stationery item, and I created that so I can actually do my little hand stitched notebooks as well, like the hand stitched notebooks, which I keep in plastic just for events because, you know, people touch them. But yeah, there's my hand stitched notebooks and little mini journals, junk journals that can go in there, which does cover up my sign, but yeah, so I'm just gonna figure that out. But it works. I like it. If I didn't want it to have my sign, I can just flip it around and you will not see my name and not have to worry about it. But yeah, there you go. I totally forgot to film cutting these. They're the shape of the vintage motel keys, and I am now painting the back with acrylic markers. The acrylic markers give great coverage, and they're fun, and they're easy, and I don't have to worry about mess. And so, yeah, I'm just painting the back. This is 1/4 inch plywood, and I am going to put jump rings and keychains on these. Yeah, I totally forgot to film putting them. But yeah, this is part of what I'm making for my shop this week, for my market this week. I have a market scheduled for tomorrow. It is now Friday, so I have a market scheduled for tomorrow, but it's supposed to rain. And they pretty much are, know that if it rains, I'm not coming, or most of the vendors aren't coming. So, I'm just trying to get this done so I can have product for my next event. I do have a big event coming up on September 13th, and then I've got all of the fall markets coming up, so it doesn't hurt to prep some things. And one thing that I think is really fun about doing the laser is I can just test out products. I can make, at least 3. These I've made 5 of each design, but I'm putting different colors on them. So, it's like I can test these products out, see how well they do. If they do well, I make more for the next event. But yeah, so these are just the shape of a vintage motel key, but I made them a little bit smaller than what most people, than the acrylic ones, just because they're thicker. And I figured if I make them a little bit smaller, they're just, they're cute. So yeah, they're cute. I just realized I hit that marker there, covered it. But yeah, they're cute. This one says you're gonna be okay. This one says just keep going. I've also made a few little bag charms of these designs as well, which I'll put little charm holders on. I made these. I was cutting a disc leaf, which I'll show you in a minute, and it had little hexagons, and I was like, the first ones I cut, I didn't pay attention that they were this big, so I ended up these are all painted as well. So on the next side that I cut, I engraved hearts, and I'm like, these would make cute little pins. So cute little wooden pins with a little heart. Yeah, so I don't know what I'll do with these. I may actually paint a little heart or something on them, but yeah. But I've got a whole bunch of these little wooden pins now. Waste. I'm the type person who I hate wasting anything in the studio, so these little punch outs, I was gonna make what they call like little pocket hugs, but then I was like, no, these would be cute as pins, the perfect size. So yeah, but yeah, so I'm gonna show you in a little bit all that I have made this week for the studio, in the studio for my markets, and that will go live in my shop. But this is just a fun product you can make with some scrap plywood. I also made some keychains based on the stamp artwork that I have as stickers. And so I made those. I made them out of a thinner plywood, and I actually think I like them out of this thick stuff. So yeah, I like the thick stuff better. I'm going to put pin backs on these. These I cut last week. I cut these at the beginning of the week before I started filming, and they are pins, little wooden pins. They match the stickers I've designed. And here's another wooden pin I made. It says keep growing. This is the thinner wood, but yeah, it just says keep growing. But I like these colored ones, so yeah. The little bag charms I think are very cute. I actually am thinking these would be cute as pins if I could get have the design already painted, like board already painted. But yeah, so that's what I've been working on so far. Okay, so this is how I'm putting my sign together. I was originally going to use binder clips, and I decided that wouldn't work to attach to the bottom, to the sign that dangles. So I found these. They are grid wall hooks, and so yeah, I can hang it from my tent or I can hang it from this. And so what I'm going to do, each one will hook together, and so it will say art, stationery, home goods, and gifts. And so yeah, but it's really super easy. When I'm not trying to film, it's super easy. And I just hook them in. The next one, hook it in, and so on and so on. But there you go. That's how I'm going to hang my sign. I'll put a picture in, and it's before I switch the top and the binder clips to these. But yeah, I'm gonna put them all together. I can hook them up when I'm at an event, or it really doesn't take that long. It's actually easier when it's hanging up than it is when I'm trying to do it on a table. But yeah, there we go. And that, I'm going to put a picture in here and show you what the sign looks like put together. Alright, another display that I made to hold my handmade journals is this book rack. I'm going to link all the files that I purchased in the description box below. But yeah, this was a little book rack. It took 4 like squares of plywood to do it. My machine cuts 12 by 12, so basically 12 by 12 sheets. So yeah.